emotional intelligence, digital maturity, communication, collaboration, data-based decision-making, innovation, adaptability. How do you know which competencies are right for your organization? It's a great question, and one that we will answer on today's episode of Learning for Good. Now, I've worked both internally at a national nonprofit managing their proprietary competency model, and I've worked with other nonprofits to help them create and implement their competency models as well. And deciding which competencies to include is always a challenge, which is why I wanted to share with you in this episode 2 components that will help you identify the right competencies for your organization. Let's dive in. So how do you figure out which competencies are right for you, are right for your organization? I'm going to talk about 2 different components today. The first is the landscape. So one of the first things that I do when working in a competency model project is analysis. I want to see the landscape, both externally and internally. So that means I do some research, okay? So externally, I want to look at, what are the current trends? What's going on out there in the world? I look into kind of the future of work to make sure that anything I come up with is forward looking. So where is the world headed? Where are organizations headed? And what are those competencies that are going to be most important in order to get us there? So I'm looking at those current trends as well as those future trends as I'm doing that external research. I also want to take a look at some of those off-the-shelf models. Off-the-shelf models are not bad. They're just not tailored to your organization. And so I want to take a look and see what's out there. What are they doing? What are they seeing as most relevant right now? And are there things that will apply to each particular organization? Because there may be some good things in those off-the-shelf models that you want to think about or consider or look for as you're looking internally within the organization. The other thing I want to do is I want to see what other organizations are doing, right? We want to see where other organizations are headed. So how have they used their model, or what is in their model and why? How did it get there? How are they using it? So that we can, again, apply some of those same lessons learned into your organization. So the first thing I do is a landscape analysis, and I look both externally, which is what I just talked about, as well as internally. Now, when I'm looking internally, I'm looking at your individual organization's key documents or resources, things that already exist within the organization. So if you have a strategic plan, that's a great place to start. What are those priorities that your organization is going to be working towards over the next few years? Because there are probably some competencies that are going to be needed in order to achieve those strategic priorities. I also want to look at other key resources. Does your organization have core values that are documented? Because that's something that I can take a look at and see how that might impact those competencies that we choose for the competency model. Do you have job descriptions? Because that's a good place to see what are those key skills, what are the themes that we're seeing across different job postings, things that might be important or relevant to multiple people within an organization as opposed to one job specific task. I also want to look at your performance evaluations. Are there things that are included that people are being rated on, they're being scored on, right? Are there things in there that are relevant that we want to include in that competency model so that people know what the expectation is going into the performance review process? And if you have an existing or an older competency model, I want to take a look at that too and see if there are things that are still relevant that are important for your organization that we want to include. So all of this goes into that landscape analysis. The other component that I want to talk about today to help you determine which competencies are right for your organizations, we have landscape. The other component is conversation. And that might seem simple, but we want to talk to staff to see what is important to them. What do they see? What do they do. And so we're getting those perspectives and we're incorporating those perspectives alongside the research. So I want to have deep conversations with staff. Now, this includes your senior leadership. What do they see as important? This includes your HR leaders, your DEI leaders. I want to talk to supervisors. I want to talk to staff, right? I want to hear from all different perspectives so that I can understand what the experience is like, what skills are perceived to be valued within the organization, what their expectations are of themselves and of others, how people get promoted, right? All of these things can help inform which competencies we include in the competency model. And this gives me a strong foundation to build upon as we continue to work together to co-create the competencies that you need. Now, this is just a glimpse into the process that I use, but it gives us a good starting point for creating the competency model that your organization needs and deserves. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking for more tips to create a competency model, check out this video.